Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. Dada, with your 2024 WWE King and Queen of the Ring instant analysis. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, just a few moments removed from WWE King and Queen of the Ring, here to break down everything that happened on this WWE Premium Live event and discuss where these storylines may be going into Clash at the Castle, Money in the Bank, and ultimately SummerSlam. Because this is an instant analysis edition of Getting Over, we are not wasting any time off the top. Allow me to remind you that this show
is all about Defy.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King, for Vintage Chris Vanini. You will hear from him momentarily. And the Getting Over Wrestling Podcast. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Getting Overcast for episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all that good stuff. It is also where you can send in questions and comments for the show, and you can vote in our pre- and post-show polls surrounding premium live events, which we will address later on today's episode. Please also remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You will get bonus audio, instant reactions to Raw, NXT, Dynamite, and SmackDown every week, along with exclusive news posts on Friday. That is buymeacoffee.com/getting over. Now, before I welcome Vintage into the show, because this is an instant analysis edition, we're going to do something that we normally do, but haven't done in a long time, and crack open a cold one. And the Silver King today has one of his favorite beers of all time, Cali Creamin' from Mother Earth Brewing. This is actually an orange creamsicle flavor, one of my favorite versions of one of my favorite beers of all time. You cannot get it in the Sunshine State. You can't get it in the southern United States. You used to be able to. You can't anymore. So the fact that I even have this is crazy. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. Vintage, what do you got over there?
I've got a strawberry banana flavored Prime hydration drink. Brewed out of Louisville, Kentucky. You can get it pretty much
everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. I figured this was the time to break out the Prime for the instant analysis, because we had Logan Paul in the title match. And look, they're not a sponsor. They need to sponsor, but I really like this flavor. And well, I've been drinking it.
Well, what's interesting is we haven't done the beer thing for numerous weeks, or numerous months, I should say, because of either things being too late or one of us being sick or traveling, whatever the case might be. So I thought we were getting back to it today. Had you told me, we could have played this together. Believe it or not, my Publix had Prime on sale, and I bought the strawberry lemonade version just yesterday. I don't really drink them. I want to try a couple of the flavors because I was pleasantly surprised, not so much how they taste, because again, this is not an ad. I'm not promoting Prime, but they're not bad for you. Like, there's no sugar in them and no calories and stuff. So because of that, if I can find a flavor I actually like, I could see myself drinking it. But yeah, I wish we had coordinated.
There is some lawsuit against Prime for like the blue or raspberry or something. I don't know, but not this flavor, at least. Everything seems to be fine. And yeah, so you see it everywhere on WWE TV, and with Logan Paul being in a world title match, I figured, here's the time to break.
Well, we could have planned it, is all I'm trying to say. Could have had a little coordination.
If Prime pays us, we'll plan it out better.
Fair enough. Okay. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into the WWE King and Queen of the Ring instant analysis. We're going to break down every single match from the show. We're also going to discuss what happened on the Go Home SmackDown. And this time, because it did emanate from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, there were a lot of go home moments that did lead into the show itself. So we do have plenty to talk about today. We're going to get through it all when we do talk about the matches. We're, of course, going to start with the main event, but we're pretty much going to go in order of importance, not in order of the card. And then at the very end, we will give you our final grades for WWE King and Queen of the Ring. And we'll also remind you what our pre-show expectation grades were for the show. So, as noted, we're kicking off with where this show ended. The WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes defending against Logan Paul during the kickoff on Thursday, which, by the way, did not air like all the other kickoffs do on YouTube and Peacock. Couldn't see it in totality. You could only see clips on social media. Logan gave his brass knuckles to Michael Cole, saying he didn't need them against Cody. Then on SmackDown, as Cody walked into the Dome, Randy Orton gave him a bit of a side eye before a handshake. Logan interrupted Cody in the ring before he could speak, saying Rhodes is more experienced, but he's smarter, a better athlete, and a better entertainer. Cody said Logan is the real deal, but he has imposter syndrome. He's lying about the brass knuckles. So Cody called in the referee for their match. He patted Paul down. Of course, he demanded Cody get it done first. The referee found Nux in Logan's cargo pocket. Logan got completely flustered, saying he promised not to use them in the match, but he said nothing about not using them on Friday. Cody said the WWE title is his whole life, and his family is as real as it gets. Then he said he believes Logan is a legitimate pro wrestler, a legitimate WWE superstar, but until he treats it seriously, he's never going to be at his level, and Cody is just going to destroy him. This, for me, Chris, was an excellent A-plus promo from Cody, both legitimizing the opponent, delivering some sober truth to him, and simultaneously building the match. It was a little bit monotonous to start, but the comedy in the middle was solid. Cody's closing salvo really got the job done in the end. It not only served as a solid tone setter for the match, but actually, and I don't know if this was purposeful or not, it set up a potential long-term storyline for Logan where he loses here, drops the United States title eventually, realizes Cody was right, actually dedicates himself to WWE, and ultimately maybe even beats Cody or someone else for the title a year down the line, 2 years down the line, whatever the case. Again, I'm not sure it was purposeful. That was the thought that this left in my head when it was over.
I love the referee pat down, and we need to bring that back before big matches. We don't really get that anymore unless there's like a weapon involved in a storyline. It's just like, it's one of those just like little things you used to always get in wrestling that just kind of added to the realism feel of all of it. So I saw that and I was like, we need to do that for every title match or something. Bring that back. Thought the comedy was pretty funny. Cody's promo was fine, but it just didn't give me any reason to care about this storyline, which I haven't. I have said I think Logan Paul is completely legit to be the number one contender. He's the longest reigning champion on the roster. I needed no further validation that he deserved to be in the spot. It was so much of Cody putting Logan over, and I'm like, this after the AJ Styles feud, quote unquote, which was basically the same thing, which is basically Cody Rhodes post WrestleMania is just putting everybody over and talking about how great everybody else is and how great he is to be champion. And there's no like juice to anything he's doing right now.
I mean, he followed. He followed by saying like, you're great in the ring and you're doing a good job and you're legit, by saying I'm going to absolutely destroy you because you're nowhere near my level. Like that was the end of the promo.
Right, but there's nothing he could do in the promo to like suddenly create a great story out of it. The story here is Nick Aldis just picked his opponent, so there's nothing really.
Sure. I'm not arguing the story's good, but I thought the promo was excellent.
So he tried, but it was just like it never really felt personal at all, which is what it is. So Cody did his best here with what he's given. I was looking forward to the match for sure, but it's just there's not a lot of meat on the bone.
I agree with you that the storyline wasn't really much of anything, but you don't need to have a deep storyline to have an excellent promo. And I thought that final portion of the promo when Logan was like getting out of the ring after the Nux, I thought it was A+. I don't think you could do a promo better than that.
It was, but it was the same thing. Logan Paul's had the same storyline since he came to WWE, which is like, I'm not just a YouTuber.
But now this is what I'm saying. This set out a course for him to go prove otherwise.
Possibly. I think he's already there. He's doing a really good job. You're like,
no, but not doing a good job in reality, doing a good job in kayfabe where like you don't need brass knuckles and where you actually are deserving of a title opportunity, versus.
I just mean he's doing a good job. So yes, anyway, that was my feeling coming in. It was okay. I was looking forward to the match for sure.
All right. I just found it surprising that you didn't agree on the promo. That's okay though. Let's get to what happened on King and Queen of the Ring. So obviously this was the main event. Mike Rome did the ring announcements, and then the Saudi comedian actor from Crown Jewel, you remember they did like whole in-ring spot? He did the match announcement, and I'm there like, why? Like I couldn't figure out the reason why. Fans loudly chanted Dusty at the bell, which was sweet. Cody was clearly on top early, countering Logan with a lot of this is how you wrestle type of stuff, but Paul slammed Rhodes' hand into the canvas, took advantage with a long run of offense from there, including a standing moonsault. Cody caught him with an avalanche arm drag and disaster kick on the ring apron. Rhodes got shoved by one of Paul's cronies, So he threw him over the barricade. That allowed Logan to get handed a third set of brass knuckles. Apparently, you can fly into Saudi Arabia with not one, but 3 sets of brass knuckles, and that's okay. He caught Cody with a punch to the gut. He was selling his ribs earlier during the match, and then argued with Cole, who called him a loser straight up to his face on commentary. Corey Graves got between them. Logan screamed he would take Cole's head off. It got heated, and it created an excuse for Logan not capitalizing on the brass knucks. Cody hit him with a tope and a power slam. Logan avoided disaster kick, but ate a bionic elbow. Rhodes ducked the buckshot lariat, coming back with a Cody cutter for a false finish. Logan then shocked, countering a vertebreaker with crossroads on Cody. He came back with Dustin's twisting suplex. They went back to the announce table with Paul talking shit to Cole and Graves staring him down. I kind of wonder if something's happening there. He went for a pedigree on the table, but Rhodes escaped and hit a Cody cutter, jumping off the barricade onto the table, which did not break and was a gnarly thud. Cody stopped the referee from counting Logan out, saying he needs to learn. Paul caught Rhodes with his knockout punch. He got tossed prime from the crowd. He did Triple H's spit on the top rope. And he had a frog splash through the announce table after a great either crane or drone 360 camera shot of him while standing on the top rope. And Cody was limp, dead to rights. Logan hit another frog splash inside for a false finish. Cody got run into the referee with Logan accidentally splashing the ref. Cody then hit the vertebreaker with no one to count. Shout out Shane Helms. Paul did a low blow and went back to the knucks, but the comedian guy grabbed his boot. Logan kicked him and screamed, "Who the hell are you?" Cody stopped his punch and yelled, "I'm Cody Rhodes, bitch." And then he hit Crossroads 3 times for the 1-2-3 to retain the WWE Championship in over 24 minutes. Now, I know Chris might flip out here.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not going to do what everyone thinks I'm going to do. Flip out, man.
But I'm not. Just because he hit 3 Crossroads doesn't mean he needed to hit 3 Crossroads. I hate when he does that also. He didn't do it because he needed it to beat him. He did it because he wanted to punish Logan. There's no false finish preceding it, is what I'm trying to say. So that's okay in my book. But this was quite a sight to see Rhodes break out the vertebreaker, which had long been banned in WWE. Total shocker there. The match was excellent bell to bell, just like Logan versus Roman Reigns last year. I do think Roman and Logan was better, just comparatively. There was a lot of overbooking in the finish, which kind of muddied how great the match was preceding that. But I was super entertained. It was a worthy main event. And once again, another great match, not just with Cody as WWE champion, but with Logan challenging for a title. I went 4.25 stars and an A.
Yeah, it was a great match. I mean, we kind of thought it would be coming in, and it delivered. I loved, like, Logan Paul's so good at the little things. Like when he's in the figure 4, and he's like crying and saying, "Cody, no, you're gonna break my leg. You're gonna break my leg. No, 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 no." Like legit, like it sounds real. That's just like a great little touch as opposed to the normal just yelling, whatever. He like legit sounded scared.
It sounds like a guy who's not a wrestler. You know what I mean? Like how I would react if someone was doing it to me, or how you would react.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. He's just really good at this. The I assume it was a drone camera on the turnbuckle jump off the ring. That was awesome. That was so cool. That was better than any of the. They've done this a few times. There was the camera one, the phone one, and that stuff. That was so cool. I just really, really wanted to shout that out.
You know what
I did.
You know what we should also shout out though? Hey, Kevin Dunn.
Off is a direction you can fuck.
I apologize. Continue.
Yeah, no kidding. And then, yes, I did write he needed 3. Oh, that's fair. I wrote he needed 3 Crossroads to win SMH. However, you rightly point out, you could argue he didn't need them.
Correct.
He chose to do them. Still, he did them.
He
and
did.
That was one of the things we talked about on the preview. Was it
we
gonna
joked,
be 1 or
like,
was it
clearly
gonna
he's
be
not going to
3?
do it. Yeah.
He did 3. So it was a really good match that just never fully sucked me in because we knew Logan Paul wasn't winning. Like it was a lot like the AJ Styles match in that it's a great match that the outcome was never in doubt. And we never really got a false finish in this match that I believed in. The closest one would have been the frog splash after a couple of things that he did. I think the only one I would have believed if he straight up hit Cody with the brass knucks and Cody kicked out, but that would have been kind of Super Cena type of stuff. So really good stuff. Logan Paul obviously continues to prove he belongs here, and it's just a really good match on a big stage for the title. Again, he's twice delivered in this spot. So it was all good. I just never bought in, and I never felt it because there was never a story to this to begin with. And you knew Logan wasn't going to win. So it is what it is, but it's now 2 pay-per-views in a row post WrestleMania where Cody Rhodes is not really doing anything I care about and putting on good matches. So like it's almost been very like AEW like with Cody as champion here. Including breaking out the vertebraker. Imagine if he, like, nobody in the crowd appreciated breaking that out because, of course, they wouldn't have. I don't even know how many American fans would have reacted. But if
I think American fans knew that.
If he had done that in AEW, it would have gotten a huge reaction. I know. So it's just, Cody's run has just been kind of boring for a couple of months, and I'm sure it'll pick up when. I'd like to think it'll pick up when we get to SummerSlam. We'll get to that later, but yeah. So it was good. It was what I expected, but never hit that next top level because there was no way it could.
So Cody did do Vertebraker actually a couple times in AEW, and yes, they did pop when he did it.
He did. Yep.
And I think in America, in front of a big crowd that knows wrestling, like not Corpus Christi, Texas, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit later. I think in front of a big crowd in Chicago somewhere, they would appreciate it as well. But yes, in Saudi, I don't think it got the pop it otherwise would have. And another situation, he didn't need to break it out in this match against this opponent, I would say.
Yeah.
Save that for a better... You should have done that against AJ Styles, if you're going to do it. Or coming up, let's say, if he ends up fighting Randy Orton against Randy Orton, something like that. But I think this did not stand up to Logan Roman a year ago for 2 reasons. One, Roman's reign was so long already by that point, where even though you knew Reigns was retaining, each false finish had the potential to be history, had the potential to be historic. Here, there A, weren't really that many false finishes. B, the false finishes that were had against Cody, they were after like frog splashes, and you didn't really believe that was going to end the match. If he had hit the buckshot lariat and then Cody kicked out, that would have been more believable. But I think the point of the match is what Cody said in the promo. That's why I relate back to that, where he said, look, man, you're competitive, you're talented, like you may push me a little bit, but at the end, you're going to be nowhere close to actually beating me. And that's what we saw transpire in the match, because Logan really shouldn't be anywhere that close to beating Cody unless he's just purely cheating, which he tried to do at points of the match. Now, regarding Logan, there's no more qualifying him like as a WWE superstar. He has it. And that's all that really needs to be said now. He's the perfect modern heel who breaks the fourth wall while simultaneously staying within the rules of kayfabe. It's tough to ask for more from him as a main event level wrestler. I do hope they follow up on Cody's promo from the Go Home show, and we do get this long-term story of Logan saying, you know what, I cannot half-ass this. I cannot only defend my title twice in 200 days. I need to show up on a weekly or semi-weekly basis, and if I want to be WWE champion or World Heavyweight champion, dedicate myself to this craft. All he needs to really do that for is a full calendar year. And once he does that, he can win the title, defend it every couple of months, and hopefully lose it in a 6-month span or something like that, and they get back to the wrestlers. I'm into that. Years ago, I would have said, man, I never want them putting the title on Logan. You, I think, first brought it up a couple of years ago. He's so talented in the ring. He's so good at this that you could see it happening. I could see it happening too, but I figured it would be like a Money in the Bank situation or something like that. Not now. Now I see him actually being a world champion in WWE at some point. And I think based on the matches he's had, it's legitimate. At the same time, Chris, he's US champion, not really defending the title. He's now challenged for the WWE title twice and lost. It's going to need to be him actually achieving something to get him to that spot, whether it's Money in the Bank, whether it's Royal Rumble, not next year, maybe 2 years from now. That's how I kind of see that transpiring. But there's no more questions. Like I don't think on this show, at least, Chris, I ever want to qualify him as a good wrestler for a YouTuber or for a celebrity. He's a good wrestler, period.
Yeah. It's to the point where he just needs to evolve as a character now.
Mm-hmm.
Is he always going to be, I'm not just a YouTuber, I'm a wrestler. Oh, I cheat with the brass knucks. This local city sucks.
Right.
It's been 2 years now and he's got it. He's great. Like he's really good at this. Now is the point where we need to get more from his character. You could make the case the only story he's really been in was Ricochet with Samantha Irvin, probably. So like,
Yeah.
I don't, we got SummerSlam coming up, Cleveland. It'll be big for him. I'm sure there will be something there, but
Well, it does seem like this LA Knight thing is going to be a legit story, multiple months.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
which would be incredibly hot. I wanted that to happen at WrestleMania. So if we get there, that'd be great. But we know what he is now. Now, can we see him start to go to another level, evolve the character, add some things, and do that? Because there is no doubting what he is and what he can do. And I've said it for a while. He will be a world champion at some point.
Yeah.
That's really the only question I have, because he's really good at this.
By the way, I was going to criticize Cole during the match for saying that they had a prenuptial agreement about the brass knuckles. And I ended up erasing that note because I realized he said prenuptial agreement. And then I laughed at both myself and him for coming up with that. So Cole,
That was a good one, yeah.
that was a good one, buddy. All right, Women's World Championship. Becky Lynch against Liv Morgan. Now, during the countdown show, Dominic Mysterio confronted Morgan, saying he was there to ensure she does not win Rhea Ripley's Women's World Championship. This opened the main card, and it was super hot right at the bell, both the crowd and the wrestling. Becky's gear was cool as shit. Well, at least given the circumstances. It was basically a mock suit with lapels and everything like that, black and white. Liv, she channeled Britney Spears with the red latex bodysuit. I mean, come on.
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
Liv caught Becky with a code breaker. Lynch answered with a sling blade in the corner. Then she hit Finn Balor's inverted DDT to counter an Oblivion attempt on the ropes. Interesting that she did both of those. Liv rolled through manhandle slam and caught her with a perfect kick, but Becky did a double underhook slam into an armbar. Morgan escaped into Rings of Saturn, with Lynch escaping in to disarm her. Suddenly, Dom showed up ringside, distracting Becky, with Liv reaching the ropes. Liv sold her arm, countering manhandle slam midair with a code breaker for a false finish. Bex came back with a superplex, with Liv distracting the referee as Dom slid a chair to Lynch. Instead, Liv ran at her and caught her. She was yelling at Dom, who was at this point on the ring apron, with a DDT right onto the chair. The referee's back was turned. Then she hit Oblivion off the ropes to become the new Women's World Champion in 16 minutes. Liv laughed manically at Becky while saying sorry as Dom looked dejected. Full pyro celebration and everything like that on the ramp. Now, interesting that Dom interfered as expected, but at least as we left Saturday's show, in kayfabe, he did not do it with what we are to believe was the express intention to help Liv and align with her. Now, this might be a substantial slow burn where Liv operates as champion, unaffiliated with Dom or Judgment Day, until Rhea Ripley returns, with Dom screwing her over, and then Rhea going full babyface. Because even though he did slide the chair to Becky, it was done in a way where it could have been planned circumstantially for Liv to take advantage, which is what she did in the match. I loved the finish. But beyond that, I thought the wrestling was excellent. We spoke 2 years ago about Morgan improving in the ring, training for this return, and she got even better. Coming out of this, she's a legitimate women's champion, not someone who got it because the fans like her and she had Money in the Bank briefcase, so it was an excused victory. And based on how she performed, both on the mic coming into this and in the ring Saturday, she really should have a nice, believable run with the title going forward. This seems to be the fully realized version of the Liv character that we've wanted for so long. And because of that, I'm really happy that she got this win. I don't think this was as good as the Becky Liv match we had earlier this year, but it was a close second to that. I went 3.75 stars and a B+.
Yeah, really solid match. No real criticisms there. In terms of what Becky was wearing, like you said, I think under the circumstances, it was a good move. I know there was kind of a online controversy this week when WWE posted photos of some of the women wrestlers at the beach in bikinis in Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, they have to wrestle like this.
Right.
And it's like, how much of that is part of that sports washing, trying to portray like, oh, things are normal there.
Right, which they're not, because you couldn't be a normal person going to the beach like that over there. It's
Correct.
not how it happens.
It was important to note that. This finish felt kind of convoluted to me because we had seen Dom and Liv hinting at stuff in the past. Now, maybe if I hadn't known that, it would have been different, but there had been things going on the last little bit. And Dom, like the heel wanting to help a face win against another heel. I got it because Liv's the one who hurt Rhea, but it just all felt kind of weird. I had said in the Ultimate Preview, my preference was if you're going to do this, if Liv's going to win, do it in Scotland. Give her some real huge heat on that. They decided not to do it. Becky's contract is coming up. Perhaps she takes a break and that's it. I don't know. So happy for Liv, but like I think they said like the revenge tour is complete or something like that. Commentary said that. And I was like, that's it? She just came back like a couple of months ago. She didn't even fight Rhea.
Well, her two goals were taking out Rhea and winning the title, and she did that.
Yeah,
and she didn't beat her for the title, but she did do it. I mean,
yeah, it just seemed like it happened quickly. So
5 months. She came back in
fine.
January. It's 5 months. I mean,
yeah, that's true. We never really took her seriously because Rhea was there with the belt. Like, things got changed.
Yeah,
Rhea
yeah. I mean, she got hurt.
They had to
things
change
changed.
everything. Like,
Yeah.
it's not anybody's fault. So it was fine. I've noticed they do a lot of women's title changes in Saudi Arabia. Do you notice that? It happened. It's happened quite a bit the last couple of years.
I personally think it's circumstantial, just like how it times out. But that is pretty interesting. I do agree. Also interesting, by the way, Liv is now the only woman in WWE history to pin Becky, Rhea Ripley, and Ronda Rousey in singles competition. That is Liv Morgan. One with a bullet, no one else. Later during the show Saturday, after this was all over, Becky was shown outside gorilla position, verbally tearing apart Dom for costing her the match. I loved the visual of this, by the way. She was infuriated afterward, talking to Byron Saxton, demanding that Adam Pearce grant her the rematch clause as contracted and give it to her Monday night on Raw. Now, this was interesting as we again consider her contract situation. We talked about this on the Ultimate Preview. My understanding is that it's up Wednesday or Thursday. It's either like the 29th or 30th of May. And this is a conversation that I had with her, both in our interview and then some stuff we talked about after her interview that aired here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. So running this match on Raw, it comes across similar to what happened when Daniel Bryan challenged Roman Reigns 3 weeks after WrestleMania 37. You'll remember, they just randomly had that match on SmackDown. The stipulation was Bryan would be banned from SmackDown if he lost. And it turned out, of course, he left WWE and went to AEW. Otherwise, why wouldn't Becky want her rematch in 3 weeks at Clash at the Castle in Scotland? I know she's Irish, but it's close enough where the fans would firmly be behind her, clearly overseas in the United Kingdom area. So, of course, she would want that. She doesn't want that, or she wouldn't want that on Raw in the United States, 48 hours after this. Now, maybe there's going to be a disqualification or a pre-match attack Monday, and that does go on Clash. But on the surface, this kind of feels like Becky getting written off TV, either due to the contract or because she was due a break but didn't get to take it after Ripley's injury coming out of WrestleMania. Otherwise, the timing is just way too coincidental given the contract and what happened with Bryan a few years ago.
Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know what to predict with any of the Becky stuff. So I'm curious.
It's confusing because even if she was taking a break from WWE and hanging out with Rue and the family, and, I think Rue is going to be in school starting next year, and she probably wants to see that through. Even if she's taking 6 months off, let's just say, and coming back at Royal Rumble next year, you would still theoretically sign a new contract. There's nothing that would stop you from doing that unless you're going to use the contract expiry as further leverage, because now you're a free agent and you can go anywhere versus trying to sign a new deal before it officially expires and you are a free agent. I just don't see a scenario where she works for any other wrestling company than WWE, not just because of her husband, Seth Rollins, being there, but like she literally has numerous best friends that are part of this company. And the only other option, like, okay, yes, theoretically she could go to Impact or like Stardom or something like that. But their only real other option is AEW. And I just don't see at AEW where it is right now, with Mercedes Moné finally having her first match this coming Sunday, and the way the women's division is over there, and just the trend of the company right now, and the fact that she just released a book with WWE, etc. It just doesn't make any sense for me why she would leave, and even why she wouldn't sign a new contract, even if she was taking a lot of time off, even if she was acting, even if she was doing other things. So just the whole situation, Chris, for me, it's a little bit confusing when I think it really should be pretty straightforward.
She's not going to AEW. She'll be back. If she comes back to WWE. And when that happens, who knows? To me, it's pretty simple. It's just a matter of when.
I mean, it is strange, though, that we've reached a couple days before her contract expiring. And at least according to reports, there's no new deal as of right now.
I don't know. Reports could be wrong. She may not know what to do, but want to do. I don't know. We don't know. We can get Becky on here again and ask her at some point.
I would love to do that. Becky, if you're listening, you're welcome to come on anytime and discuss this or anything else you want. By the way, real quick, just quick interjection. Chris, have you seen the show Bodkin on Netflix?
I've not. I've not even heard of that.
So it stars Will Forte, and he's basically a podcast host who goes to Ireland to investigate a true crime type of situation. And there's a character on the show named Dove, who is an Irish investigative journalist. And it's 7 episodes long. It's a great show. It's dark comedy. So it's funny, but it's also dramatic, whatever. I spent 7 episodes, more than 7 hours, watching this show. And every single time I heard this person talk, Dove, in the show, I thought, this is Becky Lynch as an investigative detective. It's the same accent, very similar builds and everything like that. She has much darker hair than Becky does, obviously, because she dyes her hair. But it bothered me. Not bothered me. It entertained me, I should say. The entire time I was watching the show, I was like, if Becky was an actress, she could have done this role. I kept thinking that over and over again. Good show. Recommend watching it on Netflix. All right, let's move on. There was some big news that came out Thursday on this WWE King and Queen of the Ring kickoff. Paul Levesque announced less than 48 hours before the show began that the King and Queen of the Ring winners would both receive world title shots on their respective brands at SummerSlam by virtue, of course, of taking the tournaments. Now, I'm told this was not a sudden decision. It was apparently the plan from the start, but they wanted to make news after arriving in Saudi Arabia for Blood Money in the Sand, even though that kickoff show, again, did not air anywhere we could watch it live. Now,
what?
I know that you were really pining for this to be the stipulation. I've always thought this move makes total sense. It provides additional value to the tournaments, but there's 2 things I'll say. Announcing this before the finals and not at the onset makes 0 sense in kayfabe. 2,
not even before the finals, in the middle of the semifinals.
Yeah, in the middle
Half
of the
semifinals were done.
Yeah.
Haven't even happened yet.
I also find it somewhat unnecessary given A, number 1 contenderships are already determined through the Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber, and Money in the Bank also exists. B, they could just say, hey, they're the king and the queen. They are legitimate challengers for these titles. You don't need to make it official specifically for SummerSlam. And 3, between now and SummerSlam, there's going to be 2 Money in the Bank briefcase holders that even though they're not number 1 contenders, they're going to be in that type of spot where anything could potentially happen. So it was a little convoluted to do it this way. I'm not against the stipulation having been added. I just feel like they should have done it at the beginning of the tournament if they were going to do it at all.
Yes, do it at the beginning, and then everybody who's in the tournament, like you have instant stakes, and then you'd be like, hey, wait a minute, why is Baron Corbin in the tournament and not so-and-so? And people are mad that they're not in the tournament. Drew McIntyre is especially mad that he wasn't cleared or got removed because of injury. Like, it's just very strange to announce it via social media clip on I think it was Friday.
Thursday.
You texted me. Yeah, it was bizarre. So I like it, but like you gave up the story you could have been told throughout the tournament. It's just weird.
Yeah. So let's start with King of the Ring. We had Randy Orton against Tama Tonga in a semifinal on SmackDown. Orton, before the match, said Tonga has proven his worth, but he's overcome similar wrestlers and numbers disadvantages. Tama had a main event level entrance. He looked awesome. Wade Barrett, as Bloodline entered, completely savaged the Manchester United manager, which made me chuckle. Tonga missed a frog splash, but worked a knee Orton was selling. Orton did 2 announce table backdrops and caught Tonga for the draping DDT. Orton soon after hit the RKO clean to win after Solo Sikoa got knocked off the apron while trying to interfere. Sikoa then attacked with Kevin Owens saving. It was crazy that they kind of flew KO over there just to do this, but he was mega over. But it was an entertaining main event with the obvious winner coming out of the bracket. The new stipulation for this match did lead me to change my prediction. I did that on our go home show on buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. By putting a title opportunity so soon at SummerSlam on the line, my thought process was this would be a sensible way to get Rhodes Orton without Randy turning heel, while Gunther losing to Orton would not hurt him in any meaningful way. I just did not think pushing Gunther to a world title match so quickly after losing the Intercontinental title made sense, even if Drew McIntyre gets strapped coming out of Clash at the Castle. As for Chris, He stuck with the Gunther prediction, but said he wasn't confident anymore when I texted him about it. The only thing that gave me pause was Orton selling a knee going into it because Gunther's been using the half crab. Plus, the thought that Cody Randy had that look off earlier, I thought maybe that's an Easter egg for a feud much further down the line as opposed to one happening immediately at SummerSlam. So anyway, let's just get to the match. We had Gunther against Orton. By the time the bell rang for this, it became a dream match that I really never realized I wanted previously. So my expectations were sky high. Yeah. Orton got an immediate reaction with the crowd screaming the chorus of voices and cheering loudly at the bell. Big fight feel for sure. Randy came close to hitting an RKO early, but Gunther avoided with Orton selling his back in addition to his knee. Gunther worked Orton over, and there were a few rest holds to give Randy breathers. Gunther also avoided a power slam with Orton selling the knee, even though Randy hit the power slam soon afterward. He followed with a draping DDT. Gunther prevented RKO and then nearly lost his balance on the top rope, but still somehow hit a full splash. After a near fall, Orton avoided a second splash. He hit RKO coming back, but the delayed cover led to a false finish. Orton did the announce table back drop twice. He also countered a powerbomb into a back body drop ringside. After they got back in the ring, Gunther attacked the knee, put him in a half crab. After a rope break, Orton nailed another RKO and a quick cover for a false finish, with Gunther hitting the injured knee on the kickout before immediately trapping him in a crucifix pinning combination for the win in 22 minutes. Unfortunately, Orton's second shoulder was only down for the first of the 3 mat counts. It was in crystal clear view of the camera, yet the referee went through with the entire count anyway. Paul Levesque handed Gunther the crown. Gunther got "you deserve it" chance, and then he had a great line. He's like, hey, the chants are nice, but it's none of your business what I deserve. I loved that. And to Corey Graves' credit, he did allude to the shoulder not being down on replay. So, as I noted earlier, definitely got into my head thinking the title challenge stipulation put Orton in a much better spot to win for all the reasons I mentioned. But there's no arguing with Gunther going from longest reigning Intercontinental Champion to King. It was an appropriate and exciting booking. The roof might have, though, come off the place if Orton had won. That's the way this played. That's how hot it was. The wrestling was excellent. There was nary a mistake until the finish. Gunther got great heel heat after the bell. I went 4.5 stars A for the match. Top tier in-ring storytelling. It was like a world title match. And that's what a final of the King of the Ring should be. With the shoulder being so obvious and Corey referring to it after the bell, my hope is that this was purposeful for storyline reasons and not just a total horrendous botch by the referee, because that's what it seemed like at first. And until we see otherwise, that's what I'm going to believe it to be. It was blatant, sure, but kayfabing it doesn't make sense because all that would do is lessen Gunther's victory. It was just a totally unacceptable mistake if it was a mistake.
It definitely had to be a botch at the end because even commentary was like, well, the shoulder might have been down, but might have been up, but you can't take anything away from what Gunther has accomplished. This was great. They were trying to cover for it. It was so obvious that you saw it. And I thought to myself, I think as it's going on, I'm thinking, I think this is supposed to be the finish. And I think they're about to botch it. And I'm wondering if the ref is going to count 3 or call an audible to fix this. It was that clear. He obviously didn't. Unfortunate, because this was an awesome match. Like you said, big fight feel, felt like a title match. Just 2 big men bumping meat, slapping each other. And the pick that I expected even before the stipulation and afterward was Gunther. So really good match, really unfortunate finish. Curious if they address it anymore or just move on. But just really good stuff. Gunther made sense. He was everybody's pick from the beginning. Mm-hmm. He brought the Intercontinental Championship back. Now he'll bring the King of the Ring back. And so that's all great.
That was a really good point. I don't always consider or categorize Orton in the meat, area, but he's enormous and they definitely bump meat in that match.
Oh, we got 2 big meaty men bumping meat tonight.
As I said earlier, I'm not really sure how I feel about Gunther going right to a title match on the first major show after dropping the Intercontinental Championship. Obviously, he needs to be a world champion at some point relatively soon. But with Clash at the Castle coming in Scotland and SummerSlam just 50 days after that, we could potentially be looking at 4 title changes in 5 months. We can save this discussion for Tuesday, but I did find it to be a curious booking decision. Moving to Queen of the Ring. We had Bianca Belair against Nia Jax in a semifinal on SmackDown. Bianca leapfrogged Nia running into the post and hit a splash over the ropes. Commentary harped on her previously injured knee before she even started selling it. Belair hit a flying crossbody and started selling on the landing, yet she had enough strength to grab Jax off the ropes for a pretty damn impressive powerbomb. Her knee gave out, trying Kiss of Death, and Nia went after it. Bianca then grabbed Nia for KOD off the ropes, but collapsed under her weight, with Jax hitting a massive senton and Annihilator for the win. Nia then talked shit to Lyra Valkyria, who was in the crowd, saying Lyra is nothing compared to all the major names she's beaten recently. This was the third time out of probably, let's say, 20 since her return, where Jax didn't hold on to the ropes while doing the bonsai drop. She's been pretty safe with it, but that was a mistake. Overall, kind of a plotting match, but it was well worked. They got 2 full segments. We saw solid feats of strength by Bianca, as well as an important win for Nia. We certainly did not need Belair winning another prize, especially because she's already the tag team champion. I would say overall, this was not the most star-studded final, Lyra and Nia, but better for WWE to use this to build someone than just award another current star. Also, Chris, get this. Bianca got her first clean and decisive pinfall loss on the main roster ever in this match. Everything else has either been interference, Money in the Bank cash-in, Becky Lynch's cheap shot, whatever else. And she still had the injury excuse here, but at least it was clean and Nia got the win. Let's move to the match itself, Queen of the Ring. Lyra against Nia. Valkyria was full bird lady here, getting one of the best entrances on the entire show with huge raven wings. They were attached to her gear. This was third on the card. Jax avoided a ton of athletic moves and slowed the match down. She went for Annihilator, but Lyra moved her body halfway out the ring, so Nia turned on the ropes and tried to do it outside, but she missed it, hitting the apron. Lyra hit a bulldog ringside and a tornado DDT inside. Valkyria sold the knee, but avoided Annihilator again by pulling Jax down and hitting a draping double stomp plus Becky's flying leg drop. Lyra failed trying Nightwing and escaped an avalanche Samoan drop, but as she tried to pull Jax off the ropes for a powerbomb, she got back underneath her legs, and Nia literally countered in perfect fluidity by simply falling down into Annihilator, and she crossed her arms in a tribute to Yokozuna for the win. Paul Levesque came in with the crown. They had a long hug after the bell. Nia seemingly cried a little bit. She went to one knee. He crowned her with a second hug. And then after the bell, she cut a heel promo saying she knows no one is happy for her, but she's happy for herself, and she knows she'll become champion. I shit you not, Chris. I yelped out loud on this finish. This was one of the more surprising and sudden match endings in a long time, and it was straight up gnarly and dominant from the standpoint of you had no doubt in your mind that Nia deserved the win by hitting it in kayfabe. And then also you had no doubt that she deserved the crown in reality as well. They both worked really hard here. Lyra was booked as if she was able to hang until making one crucial mistake, going back under Nia. This was an incredible job building her up as a legitimate contender throughout this entire tournament. As I said on the Ultimate Preview, Nia getting crowned actually establishes as reality what she's put on tape since returning to WWE. And I'd bet that's what Triple H was saying to her. She's busted her ass to improve and work safer since coming back. Even this Annihilator, she fixed the mistakes she made on SmackDown. She held on to the ropes. It was the right person, the right time, and your new queen, Nia Jax. I went 3.5 stars and a B.
This was a real solid match. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, the Annihilator out of nowhere. That was awesome. Like, that's not something you can just do all the time, but this is the place to do it, to win Queen of the Ring. Like, that was so cool. And to go back to before, I mean, when she beat Bianca clean, I was like, wait, what? I like rewound and watched the last couple of minutes to make sure I wasn't missing Nia cheating somewhere. That was the most impactful, arguably, maybe the biggest win of her career. I know she's been a champion, but to your point, to beat Bianca Belair clean, that never happens. So yes, in the end, with Queen of the Ring, they established Nia Jax as a real force. She beat Becky Lynch on day one to start this year. She's having one heck of a year, deserves the accolades for all of that. And everything that's coming next now with the title shot. I just kept thinking, as we said in the preview, like, man, imagine if Nia had beat Bianca clean in the final, a final that we thought could go either direction, you know, that type of thing. If you would just flip these for whatever, I know you couldn't because of the bracket, but it was a less eventful finish to the tournament, though a really fun finish to the match. But really, really good tournament overall. And Nia is a good winner, even if her path there was a bit unusual because she beats Jade Cargill via winning by DQ. And you're like, what is going on here? But then she beats Bianca clean, beats Lyra in an awesome finish. And there you go.
we look back on the Mae Young Classic positively because both of them were excellent. 2018, particularly great with Meiko Satomura, Toni Storm, Io Shirai, Rhea Ripley. But Queen of the Ring here, it's right up with it as best women's tournament in WWE history now that all is said and done. And that's extremely tough to do given the talent that was in that tournament. Now we're going to move on and talk about the rest of the card. But first, as we were taping the show, I have not heard this, Chris. I have no idea what he's about to say. Triple H posted something on social media addressing the finish of the King of the Ring finals. Let's play it live and react to it live.
I want to address some controversy at the conclusion of the King of the Ring tournament final between Gunther and Randy Orton. Now, as we all know, Gunther defeated Orton to become King of the Ring, but in reviewing the video footage, it appeared that Orton's shoulder might have been up. Do you have a comment on the situation?
So, live, I was out there. From my vantage point, it was very difficult to see. Was in the ring, handed the crown to Gunther. Very happy for him. Incredible night. What a performance they both put on. Coming back here and seeing it back, look, I saw exactly what you saw. I saw what everybody saw. I saw what everybody is talking about. Didn't really even seem controversial to me. It just seemed like Randy Orton's shoulder wasn't down. But I'm going to say this. The referee's decision is final. Gunther is your King of the Ring. That being said, especially after what I saw tonight, I certainly want to see that again. I think Randy Orton deserves to have another shot at that. And I think if I know anything about Gunther, he will want to have another shot at that, to take the controversy out, to take the asterisk off of the page where it says King of the Ring for him. I think he will want to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is better than Randy Orton. So I think having seen Randy back here, he's pretty banged up, both his knee and his back. I think it's going to be a moment or two before he is ready to step back into the ring with Gunther. But when he is, let's go.
Okay, so maybe we get Randy Orton as the title challenger if Gunther wins the championship, even though they're on different brands. But it does seem like it's going to be addressed. And I did want to also just give a quick shout out to JL3 at D_Goonies for sending that to us while we were taping the show. Pretty interesting, Chris.
Yeah. Good to know. But also, it sounds like it might be a minute before we get that rematch. So maybe on screen they don't address it so much. But curious. I mean, I have to imagine Gunther's going to win if they do a rematch. So is Randy going to take 2 losses to Gunther here?
If this was booked and purposeful, then Triple H would have said Orton did enough in that match to deserve a title opportunity of his own. Like there would have been a direct,
or you triple threat,
when Gunther, even though Gunther is the king, when this match happens, it will be a triple threat. Orton will challenge as well. That you do that if it's planned, and if not, then you do what Triple H did here, which means the referee screwed up, and that should not have been the 1, 2, 3.
I mean, maybe we do this Clash at the Castle. I don't know what Gunther or Randy Orton had coming next, but a European.
That's
guy,
interesting. Yeah, getting Gunther on that show. Yeah,
just do it again, run it back.
Then Orton loses twice, but hey, at least you get the match again, and the match was exceptional. So that's not the worst thing in the world. Let's move to the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn defending against Chad Gable and Bronson Reed in a triple threat. Gable got full "you suck" chants like Kurt Angle while entering, but like loudly and including after his music stopped. Cole alluded to Angle on commentary. Otis and Maxine Dupree walked out with him, but Gable sent Maxine to the back. I think just like KO, they flew her all the way out here just to walk on stage for 5 seconds. Sammy's ovation was insane. This was second on the card. Gable trapped Zayn in the ring apron and beat him down, but Sammy hit a huge tope con hero on both heels and hit a sunset flip powerbomb on Reed. Then Bronson took Gable off the top rope for a powerbomb superplex. Reed missed an enormous moonsault as Gable caught him with one of his own upon landing. Gable broke a fall by putting Zayn in the ankle lock submission. Sammy escaped, so Chad put it on Bronson. Then they did a double ankle lock spot. Then Zayn took Reed out with a ridiculous blue thunderbomb. Dude's over 300 pounds. Bronson came back with a double Samoan drop and a tope suicida. Sammy avoided tsunami, but Gable intercepted a haluva kick with 2 German suplexes. Zayn countered, hit 2 of his own, and then Gable hit a double stack German suplex on both guys simultaneously. Ridiculous stuff. Gable directed Otis to lariat Reed outside, which he did that on command. When he demanded the same with Orton, Otis hesitated and resisted. Chad shoved and slapped him, calling him an idiot. Then he picked up Zayn by the waist, and Otis decided to acquiesce, only for Zayn to duck and Gable to get leveled. Back in the ring, Sammy caught Bronson with a haluva kick to retain the title in 13 minutes. Gable stared Otis down after the bell, but nothing else happened there. This match blew the doors off the place. Exceptional work bell to bell, some awesome 3-man spots without being over the top. And this is some really solid storyline development as we expected, but maybe not in the exact way we expected. Otis neither helped Sammy nor refused to help Chad in the end. In this case, his interference just backfired. So rather than Otis standing up for himself, it might be Gable turning on him, maybe with the Creed brothers as soon as this Monday. That would engender sympathy, which is probably right for Otis to get coming out of this. We'll see. Gable was again excellent with all of his heel antics throughout. I think it was the MVP of the match, even though Sammy was the most over. Bronson was fantastic as well. We say this every time he gets featured. It's like a coming out party for the guy. How many coming out parties can one guy have? He's a fantastic wrestler, and he proved that again here. Overall, Chris, this was an absolute
Banger.
and it definitely exceeded my expectations. Sammy retaining obviously was the right decision, given he just won the strap 2 months ago. 4.25 stars and an A.
Exceeded expectations is a good way to put it. We knew Sammy was going to win coming out, especially because Gable won on Monday. But these guys put in the work, man. They really delivered, probably match of the night. And credit to the fans who, coming off of France, we judge crowds and curious what international crowds do. And the Saudi crowds have been hit and miss depending on what's going on, depending on certain people, for example. But not a shocker that they were all in for Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
They're chanting the whole night. They're doing the ole ole with the phone flashlights. That was a pretty cool thing. So credit to the fans in there as well. The double suplex was really well done, really cool. And just a banger.
These fans were immense. I mean, I think this was the best Saudi crowd that WWE's ever had. Probably. They've had some really good ones, but this was by far the best one.
France, I think the France situation kind of made everybody want to up their game.
Now, Vintage did need to take a quick break, so I'm going to cover the Countdown Show match without him, but he will be back for our grade segment. Bianca Belair was selling her injured knee backstage at SmackDown on Friday when Tiffany Stratton walked up talking shit. Belair said she was disappointed about losing, but her knee cost her. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell then came up talking shit about Candice because she was the initial one to hurt Bianca and cost her the crown. Jade Cargill got her back, of course. The heels slinked away. Cargill said she would speak to Nick Aldis and set something up, and that led to a Countdown Show match ahead of the PLE. Now, I was slightly disappointed because even though there is a legitimate storyline reason for this, Candice and Indy should have earned it somehow. And they certainly did not earn it just by being mean, right? So we had the Women's Tag Team Championship, Belair and Cargill defending against Candice and Indy, again on the Countdown Show. Candice went after Bianca's knee early with the heels separating her, though she quickly escaped. Bianca did. For a Jade hot tag, Cargill hit a perfect Liger bomb on Hartwell. The heels combined for a second rope draping springboard moonsault, but Candice basically landed on Jade with her head. Like she wasn't far enough, Jade wasn't. She wasn't far enough back on the ropes for her to make the entire landing, and they kind of botched that. It was unfortunate. Indy got avoided into the post. Bianca took out Candice's knee as payback, and the champions combined for a DDT tilt-a-whirl German suplex, let's call it, to retain the titles in 8 minutes. During the main show, Jade said there's no secret to their success because they're just straight up dominant and giving out work to whoever wants it. This was everything it needed to be. And seeing the continued development of Bianca and Jade as a team, that was a huge positive. They still need a team name and some named moves. I really hate how slow WWE is to develop some of these basics. If you want to have them do separate entrances because both of their entrances are great, that's fine. But they completely look the part. Now put them together. Give them a name and give them a finisher with a name to it. Brand them. You can sell more merchandise that way. I do not understand why this is a constant problem. Also, seeing them work together, there really is no reason whatsoever that they do not go on a truly dominant run as champions, maybe until 2 stars team up to take the titles off them. I can't see any other reasonable way based on the teams that exist right now that they drop the titles. They're impressive together. The match was fun, even though it was just a Countdown Show match. I went 3 stars and a B-. Now, Brian Owens at Owens11B DM'd us and pointed out there was no Prime logo in the ring during this show, even though WWE announced earlier this year it would be at every PLE. Prime was obviously mentioned numerous times. It was also used in the main event during Logan Paul's match, but there was no logo on the canvas and there were no other ads for anything else around the ring. My guess, to answer pretty much Brian's question, is that's because the entire damn event was a sports washing and tourism ad for Jeddah. And they probably have a contractual agreement of some kind that that's the sole focus and there's no other advertising on the show. And I'm sure they just made an exception for Logan and Prime because it wasn't part of the barricade and it wasn't in the ring. And it was just kind of like an object that he used. So that's a guess, Brian, and anyone else listening. But I think it's a pretty educated guess and makes the most sense for why the Prime logo was not in the ring. I will say, though, going back the last few shows, the fact that it's not a colorized logo and it's just an outline of the bottle, it's really not that bad. Like, it could be much worse. I actually think, I hate to say this because it's going to become true after I say it, WWE probably needs some corner ads, like on the canvas in each corner, just to balance out the Prime logo when it does show up, because otherwise it's just there by itself in the middle of the ring and it's just kind of odd. So having more ads is actually, in this case, better than just having the one, but it wasn't on this show. I assume we'll see it at Clash at the Castle and anything that comes up in the future. And I'll tell you something else. If I'm some of these, city governments that are paying WWE site fees to come show up, I would include as part of the agreement getting like my city name or logo or something either on the mat or on the turnbuckle covers or something like that. I don't know why they're not stepping up and doing that, knowing now that WWE is willing to acquiesce and put ads on the canvas and on the turnbuckles. So that's a suggestion for any local government officials who might be listening to the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. I will also note that there was a Nightbird QR code that showed up during the Intercontinental Championship match. Now, we're going to say that we'll discuss it on Tuesday's show, but there were a lot of allusions to this Wyatt adjacent group debuting at King and Queen of the Ring. Instead, during this QR code, it basically alluded to the group debuting the day after Clash at the Castle on Monday Night Raw back in the United States. That's problematic for a couple of reasons. I'm going to use this as a little bit of a tease. We will discuss that on Tuesday's edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. All right, so let's welcome Chris back in as we put a final bow on WWE King and Queen of the Ring with our grades. We're going to start with the pre-show expectation grades, and then, of course, we will go to our final grades. As a reminder, Vintage and the Silver King, we were both at the high end of the B+ range during the Ultimate Preview. That was our pre-show grade. You are Getting Overheads, got to vote on Twitter. 28% expected an A, 65% B, 6% C, 1% D or F. That's an 87 out of 100. So you were in the B+ range with us, but while we were at the top of the range, you were at the bottom of the range. So Chris, as always, when we do our post-show grades, I let you go first. What is your final grade for WWE King and Queen of the Ring?
I'm going to go where I started, which was high-end B+, like an 89. This match had really good wrestling top to bottom. We had a title change. We had a queen and a king crowned. But I just never fully got sucked into the show. I don't know if that's because it's daylight out and it's Memorial Day weekend and I'm just thinking about going outside or what exactly it was. But everything on the show was good. I just never fully kind of bought in for whatever reason. Maybe that's on me, but really solid top to bottom and B+.
This is the first time, I think, in a long time, perhaps, that I'm going to disagree with you, but not by much. What did you say? 89 out of 100?
Yeah.
I meant 90 out of 100. I thought it was a little bit better than my expectation. The match quality was ridiculously high throughout the entire show. I'm not saying that it was a show of 5-star matches or even 4.5-star matches across the board. But as far as I was concerned, there were 3 in the A range and all the others, none of them were worse than like a B-. It was just super entertaining. What took it down for me is that all 3 title matches involved some form of interference. The King of the Ring, we now know, was a botch. And really the only match that went down 100% clean without any controversy was Queen of the Ring. Now, that doesn't change the entertainment value of the entire show, nor the consistent quality of the matches and the results, but it does prevent me from going higher than 90 out of 100, slightly above expectation. Now, our post-show poll technically is still running for another 30 minutes, but the results aren't going to change that much. Your grades as our Getting Overheads came in, 31% between an A+ and an A, 47.2% between an A- and a B+, 19% between a B and a B-, and then basically 2.8%, 3% C+ or lower. That averages out to a 91 out of 100, an A-. So you all came into the show expecting it would be worse than we did, and you came out of the show thinking it was better than both of us did. But I think 91, 90, 89, we're pretty much, Chris, in the same boat. And there's really only one other thing I'm going to say here. We had our conversation about, the sports washing and this, WWE working in Saudi Arabia. Signature called these shows Blood Money in the Sand from when they initially debuted. I did find this interesting. When they added the women's tag team match, that meant there were more women than men on this card, which, as we stated during the Ultimate Preview, does not atone for this being Blood Money in the Sand, nor does progress with women's wrestling in Saudi Arabia wash over human rights abuses or the other things that women have to deal with in that country. But it is also fair to point out that the women's wrestling aspect has come a long way from not wrestling at all to wrestling in t-shirts and bodysuits to now, of course, just bodysuits, to the women actually outpacing the men on the card. By the way, this is also the second time this year that happened. It was the same thing at Elimination Chamber in Perth. That's pretty interesting.
No, I think I may have said a similar thing after the last Saudi show too. They rightfully took a lot of criticism when this whole thing started. Triple H and WWE said, "Oh, we hope to bring progress," and I cannot speak to if any progress has been made specifically in the country. But
certainly not because of WWE, even if it has been.
If any has been, it has not been because of WWE. But the progress for the women on the show has increased. And remember, that's why the Evolution pay-per-view happened back in the day, because they couldn't be on the Saudi Arabia show. So yes, it is fair to point that out, along with the bikini on the beach situation we mentioned earlier. It's not great. And also Mark Shapiro had said recently that WWE is about to expand its agreement with Saudi Arabia. So this is certainly not going anywhere.
It's not. You're right. They might expand it. And in addition to expanding it, according to Saudi Arabia's head of, it's either the PIF, the Public Investment Fund, or the Sports Authority, whoever ends up running this, they want Royal Rumble or WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia in either 2026 or 2027. And we'll have a further conversation about this on Tuesday's show because of the announcement about WWE SummerSlam 2026 emanating from Minneapolis. That could be a hint at what's to come. Again, we'll have that greater conversation on our Tuesday episode of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, which will also include everything that happened in WWE across SmackDown and Raw and any additional fallout from WWE King and Queen of the Ring. Now, between now and then, on Sunday night, as soon as that show goes off the air, we will have your AEW Double or Nothing instant analysis. You are not going to want to miss that, nor are you going to want to miss our AEW Double or Nothing Ultimate Preview, which is already in our podcast feed. So make sure you listen to that before the show, and make sure you listen to the instant analysis after the show. So that's next. Then our WWE episode this coming Tuesday. We appreciate all of you listening to the show and joining us for these instant analysis episodes. We know you love them. We love bringing them to you. On the way out, allow me to hit you with a few reminders. First, that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about Defy.
So head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Getting Overcast for episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all of that good stuff. Twitter is also where you can send in questions and comments for the show. You can send in questions in addition for The Last Word, our special segment on Tuesday where you can ask us anything about anything. It doesn't have to be pro wrestling. It can be pop culture, sports, whatever the case. Last Word submissions on Twitter at Getting Overcast. Please also remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You will get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to Raw, NXT Dynamite, and SmackDown, along with exclusive news posts every Friday. Again, that is buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. We appreciate all of you out there. We hope for those of you in the United States, you have a happy Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you get work off Monday as well. At this point, it is time for us to sign off. For Vintage Chris Vanini, this is the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.
Peace.